Hey, Rich. Hey, Adam. This is Jeremy from St. Michael, Minnesota. And I, first of all, just want to say thank you to Rich for the podcast. It's been really life-changing for me. I've been listening for about almost 2 years now, I think, and the knowledge and insight it's given me has been super helpful in everyday life, so I appreciate it. The question I have is for both of you. I guess you're both writers, and I was curious, maybe more from the sense of a personal story, when you feel like you know that your story is worth writing and putting out to the world, and that it might be received and kind of I don't know exactly how to ask the question, but I have a story. I've been through recovery. I've been sober for 15 years. I've done some things after recovery that I feel would be of worth for people to hear and maybe give them hope to do things in their own lives. And I'm just curious how you come to the reality that this might be something good to put down on paper and that your story might be received well in the world. So hope that makes sense. Keep doing what you're doing, and thank you. Bye.
All right, Jeremy. Listen, of course you should write your story. It sounds like you have an amazing story. I think everybody should write their own story. And if you have even the slightest inkling that you want to share something and that what you have to share could be helpful to another human being, of course you should do that. I can't encourage you enough to write what is inside of you that clearly I can feel from your words is yearning to be expressed. I sense some hesitancy and perhaps a lack of confidence around doing this, maybe a little bit of fear. And my sense is that fear is linked to how what you would write will be received. And what you have to do is let go of that. Like, just who cares how it's going to be received?
Detach those two things.
Yeah, you have to detach. These are two different things. There's the self-expression, there's the telling, and then there's the reaction to it. Mm-hmm. If you get caught up into the reaction, you're dead out of the gate.
Back to
you
that
can't
paralysis.
think about that at all. You have to just basically get into a place of pure expression and allow it to, emanate from there, I think. And, I can only share my own experience. I'll tell two quick stories. One is how the book Finding Ultra came to be in the first place, because it wasn't like I set out to write a book. I thought maybe in the back of my mind one day I'll write a book, but it wasn't like I had set this goal that I was going to write a memoir.
Right.
What happened was somebody who I didn't know read about me in a magazine article, reached out to me by email, and asked if I would be willing to talk to him because he had just gotten out of treatment and was having a hard time. And it was somebody that I didn't know, but was somebody that was friends with other friends of mine. So I struck up a friendship with this guy, and we would talk from time to time on the phone, and I was trying to kind of help him acclimate to being newly sober. And at one point he said, "Hey, you've got this amazing story. Have you ever thought about writing a book?" And I was like, "Well, not really. I mean, kind of, maybe, but like it wasn't a top of the mind thing." And he was like, "I know this book agent, this book agent worked with Dean Karnazes and it helped him with his books. And, would you like me to introduce you?" Like, it was like that. Right. And that led to me being introduced to this book agent, and this book agent being like, "Well, if you want to write a proposal, I'm happy to read it. This is a tough thing. You have to thread the needle here." I worked really hard on a proposal, and she was still very, grounded in her, trying to, basically prevent me from having high expectations. And we ended up selling the book, and that's how the book got made. And when I reflect on that story, what I take from it is that the good thing, whether you can qualify it as good or not, like the fact that I wrote a book, all started from basically being of service to somebody else, like taking somebody's phone call and talking to them about recovery. That was it. I didn't have an agenda. And that process led to something that I could have never anticipated that has changed my life in unbelievable ways. And in the writing of that book, I had plenty of moments of personal terror, thinking like, do I want to be this open? Do I want to be this vulnerable? Is this a good idea? And I would become paralyzed because I was thinking about the audience reception. And the only way that I could get through it was to completely block that out and just pretend that I was writing in a private journal and that no one would ever read it. And every once in a while I'd have this flash of like the book being on a shelf in a bookstore, and I would panic because I would get caught up in that reception. And that ultimately is the enemy of creativity. So just pretend you're writing in your personal journey. And maybe you don't share it with anybody, and maybe you do. And maybe it impacts one person, or maybe it impacts 1 million people. You don't know. But the point of the exercise is to engage with your creative voice and to try to, basically be authentic to who you are.
I love that. So well said. And it echoes something that our friend Elizabeth Gilbert has talked about, which is kind of in her book, Big Magic. She gets into that a lot.
Yeah.
Is the point is the creative output. It's not you have to divorce yourself from expectation. You can't expect something out of it, especially when you're first starting. Because you don't know.
It's not about that.
It's about, you don't know where this one act will take you. I've never written a memoir like you, but I wrote the way I got an agent was I wrote a novel kind of loosely based on my life. And I did put a lot of stuff in there that was very personal, and ended up getting me an agent, which helped got me into the publishing houses. So that's how it started for me too, by doing that. Didn't sell the book, didn't make $1 off of Middle of Somewhere. It's still somewhere. It's still in my computer though. But you know what I mean? But I never, and obviously I had ambitions for it, but it led me somewhere else. And so that's the point is if you're feeling the passion, you're feeling the urge to create, you gotta give it some energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So clearly I could feel there's something inside of him yearning to be expressed, and that's really the only important thing.